Hi, today we will discuss about figures of speech. Figures of speech is also known as figurative language, for it creates figures or pictures in the mind of the reader or the listeners. For example, instead of saying my life is brighter since you came, we would prefer to say you light up my life, and we understand light up as it not pertains to the use of electromagnetic radiation, but to mean that someone is making one's life better. And in this way, it is more sensical and more appealing to our imagination. Figures of speech is a word play, playing with the sounds or structure of language. There are several kinds of figures of speech, starting with the simile. Simile is an indirect comparison of ideas using like or us. It's indirect because it needs to use term like or us. Example: my love for you is as deep as the ocean. Love and oceans are being compared, and both have the characteristics of being deep. Number two, you're as cold as ice. We're comparing you to an ice, for both have the characteristics of cold. Number three, her hair was as soft as a spider web. Her hair is being compared to a spider web, for both have the characteristics of being soft. And as you can see in these three examples, we're using the term as to do the linking or to do the comparison. Number four, a dragonfly is like a plane. As we all know, both have the capability of flying. So even though it's not specified in the sentence, we know their similarities will be flying. We have the metaphor. Metaphor is a direct comparison between two unlike things, and it doesn't need to use the term like or us. Examples: the thunder was a mighty lion. Thunder and lion were directly compared because they are both terrifying, especially when they roar. Number two, calm lake was a mirror. The calm lake was compared to a mirror, for it produces reflection. Number three, your brain is a computer. The brain is compared to the computer, for both are smart and has a storage for informations and memories. Fourth one, his heart is a cold iron. His heart was compared to an iron, for both are hard, cold, and difficult to deal with. Third one, we have the personification. Personification is a figure of speech in which a thing, an idea, or an animal is given human attributes or human qualities. For example, the shadow of the moon danced on the lake. A shadow, especially of the moon, can neither move nor dance. It will only move if a wind blew the lake to make the waves and making all the reflections move as well. Number two example is my alarm clock yells at me to get out of bed. Clock doesn't speak, neither yell, it only rings. If your alarm clock does yell at you, run. Alright, number three, we have time flies when you're having fun. It is indeed. And is very slow when we're sad or bored. But again, time doesn't run nor fly. It simply do tick-tock or rounds its hands. Number four, the leaves waved in the wind. Instead of saying the leaves are falling, it is more appealing to our senses and imagination if we say dances or waves in the wind. Last, The last piece of pie is calling my name. Food doesn't call us, not even seduce us. It's us who keep looking at it and keep getting hungry. Right? We have also apostrophe. Apostrophe is addressing a person who is either dead or absent, an intangible sensation, or inanimate object. It usually, not always, uses the word O, OH with exclamation point. Example: Oh, Lord, let your will be done. Calling something that is unavailable to our senses, but we still believe does exist. Praying can be called apostrophe. Number 2 example. Mabini Bonifacio Rizal, let your guiding spirits influence our leaders in this time of crisis. These heroes are long gone, they are long dead. We're calling them as if they're responsible or they can hear us, they can answer us. That's apostrophe, pagtawag sa patay. Number 3, the Jane Taylor's The Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. In this poem, the persona of Jane is talking to a star that is an inanimate object, which is most likely cannot give a response. Last example, Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful. We are calling death, which is an intangible sensation or intangible noun, as if it can answer us or it can be talked to with. Aside from that, of course, we have love, peace, happiness, sorrow, all the intangible or abstract noun that we have that can be used as apostrophe. We also have metonymy. Metonymy is a figure of speech in which a thing or a concept is referred to by the name of something closely associated with that thing or concept. Example: we swear loyalty to the crown. When we hear the word crown, what does come first to your mind? Aside from pageantries. Of course, we have the king and queen, prince and princess. So we're pertaining to the royalties. And we're swearing loyalty not to the crown itself, but we're swearing loyalty to the one who's wearing it, to the one who is reigning. Like Queen Elizabeth. Next one. Pen is mightier than the sword. Pen represents education and knowledge. Sword represents violence. Number 3. It seems like people will do whatever Hollywood says is cool. When we hear the word Hollywood, what does come first into your mind? We have foreign movies as an answer. So Hollywood actually pertains to film industry. So film industry in the universal term. Next, we have they could not understand her because she kept using her mother tongue to which they are unfamiliar with. The tongue there pertains to language. Mother tongue pertains to native language. Right, so that's metonymy. We also have allusion. Allusion is a figure of speech that makes a reference to people, places, events, or literary works directly or by implying them. Each of these concepts can be real or imaginary, referring to anything from fiction to folklore to historical events and religious manuscripts. For example, don't act like a Romeo in front of her. Wherein Romeo refers to someone who is sweet and romantic. Number 2. Guess who's the new Newton of our school? Newton is a scientist. So we use Newton here as someone intelligent and has a high IQ. Number 3. Since he helped the elder in carrying its luggage, people started calling him a good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan, this one, refers to the story of the Good Samaritan who was the only one to stop and help a man in need. Fourth one. Food court is my Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden was the paradise of God made for Adam and Eve. So it means like it's my paradise. So that's allusion. We also have hyperbole or hyperbole. This is the use of exaggeration to emphasize an idea. What we call this? OA. Example. If I can't buy that perfect dress, I'll die. Hindi mo lang mabili, mamamatay ka agad. OA te. Next. I've told you to clean your room million times. 2 beses mo lang sinabi. 2 beses mo lang inulit, million agad. Ano ka, PhilHealth? 15 billion. Third example. I have million things to do today. Maghuhugas ka lang ng pinggan at maglalaro ng ML, million things agad. So that's hyperbole. OA exaggeration. Next, we have Onomatopoeia is the use of words that animate the sounds associated with the subjects or actions they refer to. Example, tick-tock of the clock, the chug-chug-chug of the train, the whoosh of the wind. So those onomatopoeia, paggaya sa mga tunog ng mga bagay o hayop. This time, this is parallelism. Parallelism is the use of grammatical structure. This is the parallelism visual on how would you do it. Long John Silver fights with a pistol, a sword, and a knife. If you can see the green words there, so a pistol. A is an article, pistol is a noun, comma, a sword, A is an article, sword is a noun. And then lastly, we have a knife. A is an article and knife is a noun. So they are both parallel, all the same structure in grammar. Another example. The student was forced to write his report quickly, accurately, and thoroughly. The student was forced to write his report. Quickly is an adverb, accurately is an adverb, and thoroughly is an adverb. So, ibig sabihin sa parallelism, kung mag-uumpisa ka sa isang verb, like, I like to sing, my favorite hobbies are singing, dancing, and acting. So, if you're gonna say that, you should have consider the grammar structure. Kung verb ba siya, adjective ba siya. In my example, my favorite hobbies are singing, dancing, and acting. Singing is a verb. Acting is a verb. And then dancing is also a verb. Okay, so you have to make sure that all the characteristics of your words are the same. Parallelism. Another example, in class, at work, and on the field, John strives for excellence. In class, that is preposition and a place. At work, preposition and a place. On the field, preposition yung on, and then field is also a place. So pare-pareho silang preposition and place. This time, I like fishing, swimming, and hiking. Fishing is a verb, swimming is a verb, hiking is a verb. Third one, peace can only be achieved through dedication, diligence, and fidelity to the rule of law. Yung dedication, diligence, and fidelity, all three are abstract noun. Right? So abstract noun sila. That's parallelism. Let's proceed with symbolism. Symbolism is the use of symbols to signify ideas and qualities by giving them symbolic meanings that are different from their literal sense. It gives a literary work more richness and color and make the meaning of the work deeper. So that's symbolism. Example. This picture is a red rose. Red rose symbolizes love. This picture is a white dove. Hindi yung sabon, but this one symbolizes peace. So we have irony. Irony is a disagreement or incongruity between what is said and what is understood, or what is expected and what actually occurs. Irony can be used intentionally or can happen unintentionally. We have three types of irony. We have dramatic, situational, and verbal. In dramatic irony, it occurs when the audience knows a key piece of information that the character in a play, movie, or novel does not. Ito na yung nagre-react ka na. Nagre-react ka, tumitili ka, sumisigaw ka. We come to the point na sinasabihan na nating tanga yung mga characters kasi we know so much about the stories. Galit na galit ka na dun sa bida kasi sinasabi mo na siya tanga-tanga because he doesn't know that actually the prime suspect or the killer was actually his best friend. And yet, kasama niya pa. They're trying to do investigations not knowing na ang kasama niya pala is actually the killer. Right? So that's dramatic irony. Hindi alam ng mga karakter yung mga importanteng impormasyon na ang mga audience lang ang may alam at ang writer, of course. For example, a novel's heroine visits her favorite cafe every day from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to work on her manuscript. Her brother's best friend knows this and is trying to find a way to ask her out on a date. The day he gets up the courage to go to the cafe, she's not there. Where she is? The reader knows, or the readers knows, she's been taken ill and he doesn't know. Now, a healthy dose of suspense is added to the plot. Example dito, may isang bidang babae na laging pumupunta sa isang cafe 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Araw-araw yon, walang palya, because she's working on a manuscript. Yung best friend ng kapatid niya na may gusto sa kanya, alam yon. Alam na kung saan siya pumupunta at ano laging oras. Nung araw na nakakuha na ng lakas ng loob para ayain siya na makipag-date, pumunta si Guy dun sa cafe, yet hindi niya nadatnan. Kung kailan pa naman nakakuha siya ng lakas ng loob, wala si girl. Why? Kasi may sakit siya. And hindi alam yun ni Guy. So yun yung dramatic irony. Another example. Let's take the same woman and her brother's best friend in the same different scenario or comedic direction. She still visits the cafe every day and her brother's best friend is still determined to tell her how he feels. In this instance, he wants to leave a love poem at her door. One day, Thinking she'll be at the cafe, he goes to her apartment to slide his poem under her door, but we know she's running late and is still at home. Right when he bends down and pushes the piece of paper under her door, she flings it open in a hurry, steps out, and trips right over him. Dito naman, pareho pa rin. Ang bida pa rin natin is si girl at yung best friend ng kapatid niya. So, pumupunta pa rin si girl sa cafe, but this time late na siya. Maybe na-late siya ng gising, kaya siya na-late pumunta dun sa cafe, which is supposed to be dapat 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Nandun siya. But she's late. Now, dahil yung unang attempt ni Guy, pumalpa kasi wala sa cafe si girl, ang ginawa niya, mag-iiwan na lang sana siya ng love letter dun sa bahay or dun sa apartment ni girl. Kasi akala niya nasa cafe na. Pero nung isi-slip out niya na, papasok niya na yung letter niya dun sa may door, sa pinakailalim ng door, biglang bumakas yung pinto. Tapos bumungad sa kanya yung girl. So na-trip over, parang in Tagalog is nakasalubong or natakid. Natakid siya ni girl. Kaya, ayun, yun yung dramatic irony. Okay? We think the plan of the characters are different from what is going through or what is going to happen in the story. And we all know that as the audience or as the reader. Right? So that's dramatic irony. Situational irony occurs when the actual result of a situation is totally different from what you'd expect the result to be. Example, a fire station burns down. Fire station, a headquarters of firefighters who turns down fire. Their headquarters is actually burning. Yung mismong tagapatay ng sunog na sunugan. Next, a marriage counselor files for a divorce. Marriage counselors are expected to have a smooth relationship with their partner. But this with marriage counselor, it's very ironic because she's the one filing for a divorce. Third one, a police station gets robbed. Police station, the headquarters of sheriffs, policemen who are responsible for peace and order, is getting robbed. Na nakawan ang pulisya na nanghuhuli ng mga kriminal. Ay, very accurate sa Pilipinas. Number 4, example, a post on Facebook complaining how useless Facebook is. Madalas to sa mga matatanda. Ginagamit ng Facebook para sabihing walang kwenta ang Facebook, pero pinapost nila na walang kwenta ang Facebook sa Facebook mismo. Ang galing. So that's situational irony. So we have verbal irony. In verbal irony, it occurs when a speaker's intention is the opposite of what he or she is saying. Halimbawa, example, yung waiter nadala yung pagkain mo, nadapa. Ang nasabi mo, good job. Good job para sa isang waiter na natapon yung order mo. Another example, if you say to a friend, if you tell someone, your breath is so fresh, a plant could die. Mabango at fresh ang kanyang hininga pero mamamatay ang isang halaman. That's verbal irony. Another example is that you are so sexy that you could fit 2 seats in a jeepney. Sexy ka pero sakto ka sa 2 upuan sa jeep. That's verbal irony. But please don't mistake verbal irony to sarcasm. Sarcasm is meant to mock and embarrass and offend someone. It's much more meaner, right? It's meaner than verbal irony. Verbal irony is just for somehow to make fun of things. Next, we have alliteration is the repetition of initial consonant sounds. This can be found, not always, but usually, in tongue twisters. Consonant sounds. Example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled papers. So the sound here is the consonant P. Another example, those lazy lizards are lying like lumps in the leaves. We have the sound L. Third example, Paula planted the pretty pink poppies in the pot. So in this one, it's the sound of P. In the first one, it is Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled papers. It's P. Alright, so that's alliteration. Mostly can be found in tongue twisters for their consonant sounds. Alliteration example in a poem. Its title is This Tooth by Lee Bennett Hopkins. I jiggled it, juggled it, jerked it. I pushed and pulled and poked it. But as soon as I stopped and left it alone, this tooth came out on its very own. So that's alliteration, the jiggled it, jaggled it, jerked it. Also alliteration for pushed and pulled and poked it. So that's alliteration, consonant sounds. Next one, we have anaphora or anaphora. It is the repetition of the same word or phrase at the beginning of a successive clauses or verses. Example, so let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Allusions of Pennsylvania by Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream. So yung anaphora dito, again sabi niya, the same word or the same phrase at the beginning. So ano ba yung mga nauulit dyan na magkakasunod dapat guys? Magkakasunod. So we have let freedom ring. Let freedom ring and then let freedom ring, let freedom ring. Consecutive or successive. Sunod-sunod po dapat yung anaphora. Another example. It rained on his lousy tombstone, and it rained on the grass on his stomach. It rained all over the place. So at the beginning sila. It rained, it rained, it rained. Next, the apartment was on the top floor. A small living room, a small dining room, a small bedroom, and a bath. A small is being repeated. And they are again at where? At the beginning of each phrases. Alright, so we call that anaphora. And yung kabaliktaran niya, we call that epistrophe. Epistrophe is derived from the Greek word that means turning upon, which indicates the same word returns at the end of each sentence. So the repetition of phrases or words at the ends of the clauses or sentences is called epiphora. Epiphora or epistrophe. Example, for want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of the rider, the message was lost. For want of a message, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. All for the want of a horseshoe nail. Yung naka-red dyan, yung for want, that is for what we called anaphora. Yung was lost na nasa ending ng each sentence or each phrase, that is what we call epiphora or epistrophe. Okay? Anaphora, paulit-ulit at successive na phrases at the beginning. Epistrophe, successive repetition of phrases or words at the end of the sentence or a phrase. So, We have alliteration a while ago, which is the consonant sound. Here, this is assonance, and it is the repetition of the same or similar vowel sounds within words, phrases, or sentences. The word is derived from the Latin phrase assonare, meaning to answer with the same sound. Guys, we're not pertaining of the vowel word, right? We're pertaining to the repetition of same vowel sounds. Examples. She seems to beam rays of sunshine with her eyes of green. She seems to beam rays of sunshine with her eyes of green. So yung mga nakaread dyan, yung sounds nila is E. E. Right? The sound E. Next. There are some creeps who I wouldn't meet if you paid me a heap of cash. So same here. This is E. E sounds. Yung third one naman, I wish there was a way to make her state similar feelings to those of my soul. So yung way, make, and state, the sound is A. Right? The vowel sound A. Those and soul, the vowel sound O. O. Alright, so that's assonance, repetition of similar vowel sounds. Vowel sounds that will be highlighted in the word or phrases or sentences. Another example. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. When at all once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering the dancing in the breeze. Daffodils by William Wordsworth. And through this, guys, you'll see that the repetition of vowel sound will be the host, golden daffodils. And the sound is O. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, it's E, including the breeze, E, right? The vowel sound E. And then if you can see here, it represents the calmliness, the relaxation. So in essence, actually, it is used to provide a poem with musicality or softness, which mirrors the romantic, longing mood of the line. Assonance gives a sentence rhythm and musicality. This helps reflect the speaker's mood. So through this assonance, malalaman natin yung mood or atmosphere nung tula. If it's being calm, if it's being relaxed, if it's being very hard on itself. So yun po yung nagiging silbi din ng assonance aside from the vowel sounds. We'll know the musicality, the speaker's mood, or speaker's atmosphere. Okay po? So that's assonance. Chiasmus. Guys, it's chiasmus. Chiasmus is the grammar of one phrase is inverted in the following phrase, such that two key concepts from the original phrase reappear in the second phrase in invented or inverted order. In chiasmus, guys, ito yung binabago o nililipat-lipat yung posisyon ng mga words na galing sa unang phrase papunta sa pangalawang phrase para makabuo ng bago o ibang ideya. Halimbawa, she has all my love. My heart belongs to her. Yung she has means possession o pagmamay-ari. Belongs pertains to pagmamay-ari. All my love means love. My heart pertains to love. So, same words, pinag-iba-iba lang yung position, but it created another idea. So, sa Tagalog na to, Nasa kanya ang lahat ng aking pag-ibig. Ang buong puso ko ay sa kanya lamang. That's chiasmus. Another is, never let a fool kiss you or a kiss fool you. Sa Tagalog nito, huwag ka daw magpapaloko sa isang halik o kaya naman ay huwag magpapahalik sa isang manloloko. Right? Never let a fool kiss you or a kiss fool you. Huwag magpapaloko sa isang halik at huwag magpapahalik sa isang manloloko. Next, do I love you because you're beautiful or are you beautiful because I love you? Familiar ba? Parang mahal ko o mahal ako ang datingan, right? But it is. It's chiasmus. That's what we call it, chiasmus. Mahal ba kita dahil maganda ka o maganda ka dahil mahal kita? Sana all. That's chiasmus. So, babalik pa rin natin. We're gonna reuse the words on a second phrase to create a new idea or similar concept to it. That's chiasmus. We also have euphemism is the substitution of an inoffensive term for one considered offensively explicit, and it refers to polite, indirect expression that replace words and phrases considered harsh and impolite, or which suggests something unpleasant. Euphemism is an idiomatic expression which loses its literal meaning and refers to something else in order to hide its unpleasantness. Dito, sinasubstitute natin yung mga, sabi diba, inoffensive. The substitution of an inoffensive term for one considered offensively explicit, vulgar, and or negative. So, pinapalitan natin yung mga vulgar or negatibong salita. For example, instead of saying a dead person or describing the death of a person, we may say, he kicked the bucket. Kick the bucket pertains also to being dead or death. He already kicked the bucket last night. Namatay na siya kagabi. So that's because dead or death is very negative. It's very saddening. It's very vulgar. Somehow, to sa mga namatayan, it's offensive. Masakit. Ganun. So, we try to be polite. Another, instead of saying firing employees, we may say downsizing. So, in a sentence, instead of saying their company is firing employees due to COVID-19, we can say, or we may say, their company is downsizing due to COVID-19. It is more appealing, it's more sensical, and it's more polite. Another example. You are becoming a little thin on the top. We don't want to offend someone, a person, na napapanot or nakakalbo na. And we want to somehow pansinin yon. And we don't want to be impolite. So, ang sasabihin natin, you are becoming a little thin on the top. Napapanat na siya or nakakalbo na. In a polite way, becoming thin on the top. Alright? Next, our family is in the family way. Sa mga, ito yung mga buntis. Alright? Magkakaanak na. Kung babae, our teacher is pregnant, right? As simple as that. And if it's a guy, her wife is being pregnant. So, hindi mo naman pwedeng sabihin yung teacher mong lalaki is pregnant. So, for a universal way, it's going to be in the family way. Magkakaroon na sila ng pamilya. Our teacher is in the family way. Next, sa mga ayaw umamin na lasing na sila kahit nagewang-gewang na, yung maglalakad na lang, kailangan may hawak pa na upuan or may hahawakan na mga wall, no? Kailangan may alalay. O kaya naman, napakadaldal na, tapos ayaw pang paawat kasi daw hindi pa nga daw siya lasing. They often say what? Tipsy lang. Right? Tipsy lang ako. Yan, yung mga natin, salitaan ng mga kaibigan natin. Ayaw pang umamin na lasing na, pero nakailang suka na, nakailang iyak na, no? So, actually, tipsy also pertains to being drunk or lasing. Pinaganda lang natin. Pero ang ibig sabihin pa rin yan ay lasing. Next, we do not hire mentally challenged people. Ito yung sa mga ayaw mong makasakit ng damdamin para sabihin diretsuhan sa isang tao na mahina yung utak niya, mahina yung kokote niya o mangmang siya. They use mentally challenged. Okay? So, mentally challenged for not parang slow picker. So, that's what we call euphemism. Litotes is consisting of an understatement in which an affirmative is expressed by negating its opposite. Note, please take note, litotes always involves negation. Ito yung ginagawa mo pag silently nagyayabang, nangaasar, o kaya pag hindi ka sure. Example, not bad. Something is good or at least okay. Hindi na masama. Right? Not bad for a beginner. Not very good, not good. It's just at least okay. At least nagawa. That's litotes. It's not inedible. When we say inedible, hindi nakakain. So when it's inedible, ibig sabihin hindi nakakain. But since we add negation to it, a negative word which is not, it's not inedible now means nakakain siya, pero not appetizing, hindi masarap. Okay? It's inedible means hindi nakakain. That's already negative. But since we're adding another negative term to it, which is not, naging ibig sabihin is nakakain, but it means now that it's not appetizing, hindi masarap. A disgusting dish. Next, she wasn't unhappy with her new car. Hindi natin masabi kung malungkot ba siya, or sobrang saya niya, or masaya siya, because we're not sure. Basta, what we know is that she wasn't unhappy. Maybe neutral lang siya because of her new car. Ito naman yung I am no prophet and here's no great matter. Ito lang yung tao lang, kakamali. So for us to make it more shala, more social, to sound more knowledgeable, sasabihin natin, I am no prophet and here's no great matter. Pertaining to, I'm just a human. Tao lang ako. So that's litotes. For example, di ba sabi ko kanina, litotes is somehow, ito yung nagagawa mo or ginagawa natin when we silently do bragging, pagyayabang, when we banter or nangaasar, o kaya naman pag hindi sure. So example, nag-solve ka sa calculus ng isang formula. Tapos, nasagot mo siya ng tama. Ang sagot mo, ang galing nga. So, sinabihan ka, ang galing. Tapos, ang sagot mo, di ba hindi, ang sinasabi niya lagi is, piece of cake, sisiyo, ganyan. So, instead of that, we may say, it's not rocket science. Alright? It's not rocket science. Very basic. It's as simple as it gets. Sana all magaling. So it's not rocket science. Instead of saying the commonly known basic, easy, piece of cake. Now you can use it's not rocket science. Hindi siya ganun kakomplikado. Okay? So take note of that. Next, he's no spring chicken. Ibig sabihin, he's getting older. Okay, hindi ka na bumabata. Next is, it's not my first rodeo. If it's not my first rodeo, ibig sabihin, I'm very experienced or I'm experienced to it. Next, he isn't the brightest bulb in the box. Not the brightest bulb. So if you will think of it, hindi siya yung pinaka-malinaw. Literal. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya yung pinaka-smart. He's somewhat dumb. Okay. So aside from the sa sinabi natin kanina na mentally challenged, you can also say, he isn't the brightest bulb in the box, as under the Litotes. Next, you won't be sorry if you bought this knife set. Ito yung sa mga sales clerk na nagtitinda sa mga stores. No? Para lang makabenta, sasabihin, instead of saying, you won't regret, they will say, you won't be sorry. You won't be sorry if you bought this knife set. You'll be happy if you bought this knife set. Another example is, I don't deny that it was wrong. If you don't deny it, don't is a negation. Deny is also a negation. So it's going to be, I admit. Right? I admit that it was wrong. Another example, he doesn't always have the best sense of direction. Ay, si Zoro to. Alright? He doesn't always have the best sense of direction. Ibig sabihin, lagi siyang naliligaw. Hindi siya matandain sa mga direksyon or lugar. He doesn't always have the best sense of direction. Next, graduating from college was no mean feat. No mean feat. So, parang pinagyayabang mo na, wala lang to. Hindi naman mahirap. Basic. Same to the, it's not rocket science. Dali lang. Masaya. Graduating from college. No mean feat. Okay, so no mean feat. It's not a major achievement. Hindi naman siya ganon ka big deal. Ganon. Next, parties aren't just my cup of tea. Ibig sabihin, hindi ko sila type. Alright? It's not my cup of tea. I don't like it. Okay? I'm not into it. That's cup of tea. Aren't my cup of tea. Pero pag wala yung aren't, ibig sabihin, I like it. It's my favorite. I love it. Right? So that's Litotes. It has always negation. If you can see, lahat yan merong not or no or aren't, yung mga doesn't. Ayan. So we'll go back to the note that Litotes always involves negation. Okay po. Next, we have in understatement. It is a figure of speech in which a writer or speaker deliberately makes a situation seem less important or serious than it is. In understatement, we try to make things lighter and more fun. Okay. Deserts are sometimes hot, dry, and sandy. Iba po yung dessert. Pag sinabi mong dessert, yun yung mga sweets, confections, right? Matatamis. But when we say desert, it means desierto. So, ang desierto daw, sometimes lang naman. Sometimes lang naman mainit, sometimes dry, minsan lang din mabuhangin. Desierto yun, ha? So, that's understatement. Describing deserts of the world. Ang init-init doon. Sometimes lang. Next, he is not too thin. He is not too thin. Hindi ka naman ganun kapayat. Pero obese na siya. Alright? He is not too thin. Hindi ka naman masyadong malapad, no? That is understatement. Another. It rained a bit more than usual. So, pupunta ka sa bahay ng nakaklase mo. Tapos biglang may tubig, umulan, bumaha sa kanila. So, ang sagot niya sa'yo, it rained a bit more than usual. Umulan lang naman ng konti, pero yung baha, abot na ng bewang. Konting ulan lang naman yun. So, it's just rained a bit lang naman. It was okay. Tinanong mo yung kaklase mo, valedictorian, magaling sa math. Sabihin natin kahit saang subject, tinanong mo ilang score. Siguro minsan naka-perfect siya, minsan isa lang yung mali. Tapos ang sagot niya sa'yo, pag tinanong mo siya, kumusta yung exam? Sagot niya, okay lang. Pag tinanong mo yung score, perfect sis, taksil. Dami kong ganyang friend. So, okay lang. Pero ang hirap-hirap ng exam, tapos naka-perfect. Ang gagaling. Next, it is a bit nippy today. Naka-ano ka na yan eh. Naka-3 kumot ka na, naka-medyas ka na, naka-2 jacket ka pa, tapos ang sasabihin mo lang, it's a bit nippy today. Hindi naman masyadong malamig. Hindi naman, pero naka-ano na ako, 3 medyas, 3 kumot, 3 jacket. Hindi naman malamig. So that's understatement. I have this operation. It's not very serious. I just have this light or tiny little tumor on the brain. Hindi naman seryoso yung ooperahan sa akin. Ano lang, tumor lang sa utak. Ay, girl, talaga, baka ikamatay yun, diba? That's Litotes. Making fun of very serious or serious matter. To make fun of it, to make lighter. Para hindi heavy yung atmosphere. That's understatement. Antithesis. Antithesis naman, it is the juxtaposition of contrasting ideas in balanced phrases. Literally means opposite, is a rhetorical device in which two opposite ideas are put together in a sentence to achieve contrasting effect. Example, setting foot on the moon may be a small step for a man, but a giant step for a mankind. Yung pagtapak ng ating mga astronauts sa moon, maliit lang yung hakbang ng tao. Right? But the progress of making that is very huge. That's antithesis. Okay? The step of a man is very little, but for the progress of mankind, for its modern technology, it's very huge already. That's antithesis in this example. Oxymoron. Oxymoron is a figure of speech in which incongruous or contradictory terms appear side by side. So magkadikit yung opposite terms natin. Hindi sila magkahiwalay tulad ng sa antithesis. No? This one, oxymoron, magkadikit sila. Example, pretty ugly. You're pretty ugly. Tapos nag-thank you siya, no? Pero ang ibig sabihin natin doon is, yung pretty, it serves us. It becomes so or very. Okay? Yung pretty nagiging so or very. So, yung pretty ugly, it becomes so ugly. Deafening silence, nakakabinging katahimikan. Ay, deafening, nakakabingi, supposed to be loud noises, and then silence, katahimikan, quietness. Okay, magkadikit, magkatabi. Old news. Old, luma. News, pwedeng sabihin natin na bago or newspaper. Right, mga balita. So here, it pertains to an old news, lumang balita. This is my only choice. Choice, pero nag-iisa? Diba nga sa multiple choice, dapat mga 2 hanggang 4? Only choice. Isa lang ang pagpipilian. Next, clearly confused. Confused ako. Clear. Clear? Clearly confused? No. What we mean is, sure ako na confused ako or hindi nag-aalanganin ako. May nag-aalanganin ako. Malinaw sa akin na nag-aalanganin ako. Hindi ako sure. Sure ako doon. I'm unsure to be sure. Diba? Hindi ako sure kung sure ako doon. So that's also oxymoron. Magkatabi po yung mga opposite words natin or opposite terms natin. Oxymoron. And of course, we also have the paradox. Paradox is a statement that appears to contradict itself. Contradict itself mismo. Yung mismong sentence, you're going to contradict it. Or the idea. Example, hi everyone, don't mind me, I am nobody. Hello, tinawag mo yung attention namin to introduce yourself and then you're just going to tell us that you're just a nobody? That's paradox. Okay guys, here's the house rule. There is no rule. Guys, may batas tayo dito Sa bahay na to may batas. Ang batas natin, walang batas. That's paradox. Less is more. Less talk, more actions. Less friend, but here, what it means is less is more, is that mas maganda, mas konti. Yun pa yung ibig sabihin niya dyan. Pag less is more. Okay. Next, this is the beginning of an end. Beginning? End? They're contradicting, right? But the idea, ito na yung katapusan, o ito na yung umpisa ng iyong katapusan. We also have, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Taray, palaaway siya. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, yung kaaway ng kaaway mo, kaibigan mo. Tama? Tama. Okay. Next, we have earn money by spending it. You can earn money by spending it. Huh? Paano yun? Actually, this is a paradox and it says, or what it means is investing. Diba sa investing, you're gonna take out money and then put it in a bank or to someone. Invest para dumami, magkaroon ng porsyento at dumami pa. So that's earn money by spending it. It means investment. Lastly, we have rhetorical. Ang basa po dito is rhetorical, hindi rhetorical. Again, it is pronounced as rhetorical questions. When we say rhetorical questions, it is a figure of speech in which the person who is asking the question is trying to make a point. Example. Me? Why me? Bakit ako? Ako na lang lagi? Ay, Bobby pala yan. Sorry. So that's rhetorical question. Why me? Another. Would you? Are you crazy? Huh? Are you crazy? Who cares? Who cares? Can you imagine that? That's rhetorical questions. So that will be all for our discussions. I hope you understand the figures of speech, and if I hope you clearly you watch it completely. I really do hope kahit na matagal to, kahit na mahaba siya. So if you still have any questions, please don't hesitate to address them so then we can make a conference or a meeting for the clarifications and to answer your confusions. That will be all. Thank you for watching and listening my video or my video lesson. You have a good day and keep safe. Bye.